Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Third World Report, where we love details like the French love cheese. In this episode, we're going to answer the question, how did the Zimbabwean economy get here? As in, get to where it currently is. I'm sure most of you have heard about the economic situation in Zimbabwe, at least once in your lifetime. Could be through all the news coverage it's currently getting, the Financial Times reports on the country with the largest number of billionaires, or through the former president's family, who are balling more than an Arabian sheikh, as in seriously. The former First Lady was allergic to anything that was not Gucci, which earned her the nickname Gucci Grace Mugabe, which I must honestly say would be a pretty awesome nickname if a majority of our people were not swimming in poverty. Anyway, for those of you who have the all too common condition, known in medical terms as news phobia, or you just can't get your eyes off those pesky Kardashians, don't worry, I'm here to save you from yourself. Like a social justice warrior correcting the world from the safety of his or her keyboard, I, the knowledge justice warrior, am here to correct you from ignorance, if that makes any sense. Only difference is I come at you with facts and no caps lock. Yes, in this episode, we are going to bust myth from fact. For example, the myth that everyone in Zimbabwe was once a billionaire is completely and utterly false. The fact is, a majority of the population were actually trillionaires, not billionaires, before they debunked their currency. So, if any of you dream of having unlimited zeros in your bank account, just sit back, relax, hit the like and subscribe button, and let me show you the way. Like seriously, it's not that hard. It's right there. I can see you see it. I mean, the button is right there. Just click on it. Just click on it. There you go. Just click and subscribe, please. I really need those likes and subscribes. Anyway, let the journey begin. 37 years ago, former President Robert Mugabe inherited a well-diversified economy with the potential to become one of sub-Saharan Africa's best performers. The country was not only food sufficient, it was also an exporter of its agricultural surplus. The service, mining, and manufacturing sectors were also doing well and growing, and the country's infrastructure was ranked amongst the best on the continent. Now you may be scratching your head and wondering, what happened? Since this doesn't sound like anything like the Zimbabwean economy you know. Well, it can all be summed up in two words which you'll hear me say frequently in this video: Robert Mugabe, or as I prefer to call him, former President for life, Robert Mugabe. In the late 1990s, Zimbabwe began facing budget deficits due to a number of reasons, including the involvement in the conflict in Congo and a drop in economic output. That's when someone in Mugabe's ruling party, the ZANU-PF, came up with a genius idea that went a little bit like this. We control the central bank, don't we? Yes. The central bank controls the money, don't they? Yes, they do. Then why don't we just print more money? We'll be able to pay our bills and fund the war. You know, we can even give ourselves huge pay hikes for a job well done. Are you sure this will work? Hey, how do you think the Americans get so rich, huh? They thought we'll never find out, but I know their secret. They print the money when they sleep. What? Can you believe that? They print the money when they sleep. Bravo. This man deserves a promotion. You deserve a promotion. And yeah, according to my very reliable sources, that's exactly how it happened. But please, do not quote me in any report. Copyright infringement. Thus, the government began printing more money to increase government expenditure, which, as you've heard, included hefty pay hikes for the government officials and to fund Zimbabwe's participation in the Congo Wars. This was Mugabe's dream. He was finally asserting himself in the international stage, flexing his muscles, displaying the might of Zimbabwe for all to see, by pouring hundreds of millions of dollars in a billion-less war that carried on until 2003. Does this sound a bit familiar to you? You know, the pouring of tons of money into a useless conflict that has no end in sight, while ignoring the direct needs of his people. Only difference is, former President for life Robert Mugabe was president of a third world country, with a GDP smaller than the military budget of France. It was as if no one in the ZANU-PF government ever took an economics 101 class, or they could have just been too terrified to go against their former president for life. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Seriously, I'd really like to know. However, unfortunately, the economic blunders of the former president for life did not end there. In the year 2000, former President for life Robert Mugabe seized and forcibly redistributed most of the country's right-owned commercial farms. The new occupants, which included several prominent members of the ruling party, were usually inept, inexperienced, and uninterested in farming, thereby failing to retain the labor-intensive, highly efficient management systems of the previous landowners. Short-term gains were achieved by selling the land and equipment. By 2003, reality caught up with Zimbabwe, and its economic problems became real. The country started feeling the effects of printing more money, and inflation had reached 600% by this time, meaning that a mango that cost 10 Zimbabwean dollars a few years ago was now worth 60 Zimbabwean dollars. You may now be thinking to yourself, that does not sound like a good situation for a country to be in, and that one should implement measures to reduce inflation. For example, shutting down the money printer. And you, my friend, are 100% correct. The only problem is you are just too normal. Every book says that. And do not possess the genius or creativity of the ZANU-PF party, which had a way better plan that went a little bit like this. If a mango is now 60 Zimbabwean dollars, let's just print more money and give it to the people so they can all be able to afford the mango at 60 Zimbabwean dollars. What a genius! What a genius! Remember, Americans print money when they sleep. Bravo, 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 bravo. You deserve a promotion. And that is exactly how it happened. Just don't quote me. Copyright laws. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe blamed the hyperinflation on the economic sanctions imposed on the United States, the IMF, and the European Union. However, these sanctions targeted the government of Zimbabwe and froze assets and denied visas to some 200 specific individuals closely tied to the Mugabe regime. They were imposed for a number of reasons that I am not going to go into in this video. Hyperinflation in Zimbabwe was a major problem from about 2003 to 2009. In 2007, the government made another genius decision and declared inflation to be illegal. They even arrested numerous people for changing their prices. This, however, did not stop the hyperinflation from reaching its peak in November 2008, with the rate estimated at 79.6 billion%. Wow. This resulted in $1 becoming equivalent to the staggering sum of 2.6 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. Damn. At this point, the currency was worth less than a piece of toilet paper, as in seriously. It is actually cheaper to use the notes than to buy actual toilet paper. In 2009, the government stopped printing new notes and suspended its own currency. This was the first smart economic decision the government had made in years. The people began transacting using the US dollar, the euro, and the South African rand. However, teachers and civil servants were still being paid in Zimbabwean dollars. Even though their salaries were in trillions per month, this amounted to around $1, making Zimbabwe one of the few countries in the world where a majority of the population were millionaires, even trillionaires, but unfortunately, they were trillionaires who could not afford a loaf of bread. The government also used restrictions on bank withdrawals to try to limit the amount of money that was in circulation. It limited cash withdrawals to 500,000 Zimbabwean dollars, which was around 20 cents in American dollars. This created a huge black market economy. People changed the prices of goods and services several times a day, and when one was paid in Zimbabwean dollars, one would quickly rush to a backseat exchange vendor to change your currency into another currency before it loses value. From 2009, the US dollar became the preferred currency for transactions. Around 80% of the population used the dollar in their everyday transactions. In 2014, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe unveiled convertible coins in denominations of 1 to 50 cents in US dollars, claiming the lack of coins induced retailers to round prices up to the next higher dollar, making goods and services more expensive. In 2016, the governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe said Zimbabwe will print new bond notes, which is said will be at par with the American dollar. However, many Zimbabweans, with hyperinflation still fresh in their minds, have rejected this plot, claiming they could not accept the bond notes. By 2017, government spending accounted for more than 15% of the country's GDP. State enterprises are strongly subsidized, taxes and tariffs are high, strict regulations are costly to companies, starting and/or closing a business is slow and full of costly bureaucracies. Zimbabwe is actually ranked one of the most difficult countries to actually open and start a business. The country is ranked 145th in the world in the ease of doing business rank by the World Bank. Along with North Korea, Zimbabwe is one of the most difficult countries in the world to set up a business. The bureaucratic red tape is literally a mile long, and one also has to grease the hands of everyone along that line. The country is also suffering from a large public and external debt, which when put together puts Zimbabwe on the list of most indebted countries in the world. Corruption remains rampant, and the country is ranked 154th out of 176 countries in the world by Transparency International Corruption Index. The nation also faces a lack of access to credit, since many of the local banks have collapsed or are on the brink of collapsing, and the ones that are still alive have extravagant interest rates of up to 25%, which ends up making the loan a means of extortion. However, as of April 2017, commercial banks' lending rates have been capped at 12% per annum. Few international lenders are also willing to take the risk to lend to the country, which you can't really blame them. The labor market is also highly regulated, making it cumbersome for companies to hire and fire skilled workers, all while unemployment in 2017 reached a staggering 90%, leaving more than 70% of the population living below the poverty line. Zimbabwe is also one of the most unequal countries in the world, with the top 10% of the population controlling and consuming around 40% of the country's GDP, while the bottom 10% controlling and consuming are merely 2% of the country's GDP. The lower prices of minerals in the international markets has helped to make the economic situation of the country worse. Thanks to backdoor deals and inaccurate data released by the Zimbabwean government, it is impossible to accurately tell how much of the government revenue is from minerals. However, experts have estimated it contributes to more than 50% of government revenue. The ousting of President Mugabe in November 2017 may be the miracle the country needs to get back on its feet, since most, if not all, of the country's economic problems can be summed up in two words: Robert Mugabe. This brings us to the end of this video on how the Zimbabwean economy got here. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, or at least learned something from it. Watch my video on the current situation in the Zimbabwean economy to find out in detail the current position of the Zimbabwean economy. And check out my video on what life is really like in Zimbabwe to get a glimpse of, basically, what life in Zimbabwe is really like. Or watch my other videos on other countries to learn more about them. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And this was actually one of my first good videos, so please, I'd like to know your comments and your thoughts on what I can change. Anyway, this was a Third World Report by me, Brian. Be sure to like and subscribe to receive more in-depth and detailed videos on country histories and country profiles. Thank you for watching, and kwaheri.